Right, hello everyone. This is Robin again, and we'll be continuing our Azure 103 certification training. And we're going to be doing Module 9 on Active Directory first. So why is Module 9 not Module 8? Because it's required by one of the subscribers. So I'll just do Module 9 first, and we revert back to Module 8. Module 9 is more important than Module 8 anyways. It's Active Directory. Azure Active Directory actually. So let's get started. Yeah, again, I will break these into two parts. So today's lesson, we're going to cover Azure Active Directory and Azure AD Connect, and then we're going to cover the Azure AD join in the next lesson. So Azure Active Directory. I'm going to talk about its benefits, the difference between Azure Active Directory and your on-premises Active Directory, and also different additions, subscription you can have for Azure AD Directory Premium and the Azure AD Directories tenants. Right. So what is the Azure Active Directory? Right. It's uh, Microsoft's multi-tenant cloud-based directory and identity management service or solution. So for IT admins, the Azure AD provides an affordable, easy-to-use solution to give employees and business partners a single sign-on experience to thousands of SaaS apps like Office 365, Salesforce, Dropbox, etc., etc. And for application developers, Azure AD lets you to focus on building your application by making it fast and simple to integrate with a world-class identity management solution, which is used by millions of organizations around the world. Actually, I think domains and Active Directory is what made Microsoft so powerful in the not only PC but the business world on computers, right? So you can have a border anyway for all your devices you can manage. You don't have to hire 1,000 IT for, like Microsoft. You don't need 1,000 IT to manage the whole company. Probably in the future, for purely cloud, only 100 IT is enough to manage everything. And the Azure AD also includes a full suite of identity management capabilities like the MFA and multi-factor authentication, device registration, the MEM, MDM, and self-service password reset, self-service group management, and the privileged account management, privileged identity management, correction, and role-based access control, application units, usage monitoring, and etc. etc. So those capabilities can help secure the cloud-based applications, streamline the IT process, cut costs, and help ensure the compliance are met. Additionally, the Azure AD can be integrated with your existing on-premises Windows Server Active Directory, so giving organizations the ability to leverage their existing on-premises identity investment and manage access to cloud based on your SaaS applications, which is the most popular. I'm afraid it's 99% of the organizations choosing this way, right? Unless you're from Google, you migrate to Office 365, so you don't have an on-premises environment Active Directory. So if you're an Office 365, Azure, or Dynamics CRM online customer, so you might want now to realize that you are already using the Azure AD. So even though Office 365, Azure, and Dynamics CRM tenant is already in an Azure AD tenant, so whenever you want to, you can start using that tenant to manage access to thousands of other cloud applications that Azure AD can interact with. So many of my Office 365 customers, they actually never realize that Azure AD is part of their subscription, right? So somehow it's most of the time like E3, you are the free one, right? You cannot use some of the nice features as the P1 or P2, or Office 365 E5 license you have. So they never go to the portal.azure.com like we did for the others. Like the one we're doing before, like virtual machines, virtual networks, monitoring, etc., all that, they're all part of the Azure infrastructure. And Azure AD is also, has the Azure, right? So it's like I would say maybe 1 or 1.5% of the entire Azure, like the infrastructure as a service. So they probably don't pay much attention to that, but I can assure you that much can be accomplished in Azure AD, right? So there are not much settings you can do in Office 365, like in the users and the active users tab. There you can reset password, you can enable MFA, you can do this and that, but there's a lot much more you can do in the Azure portal. So we're gonna jump into that in the later stage. So let me first finish the slide. And the benefits, right? There's a whole lot of benefits. First off, single sign-on to any cloud or on-premise web application, right? So the Azure AD provides, secure single sign-on to cloud and on-premise applications. So what it says on-premises is because you can publish your on-premise application to Azure through the reverse proxy, or you can just upload it there, right? So including the Office 365, all the applications, Salesforce or third-party ones. And it can work with iOS, macOS, Android, and Windows devices. So users can launch applications from a personalized web-based access panel, their mobile app, Office 365, or custom company portal. So using their existing work credentials. So I recently have a customer that actually they only use Power BI for Shanghai, but they managed to integrate that into their own company portal, so they can integrate with all their Power BI resources. And also it can protect your on-premises web application with the secure remote access. So access your on-premise web application from anywhere and protect with the multi-factor authentication and conditional access policy, group-based access management, so user can access their SaaS and on-premise web apps from the same portal. Also, it's easily extend your local Active Directory to the cloud using the Azure AD Connect. So it's actually for folks who are new to this. So the one you're using right now, Azure Active Directory Connect, actually they involved in three stages, right? First called Directory Synchronization tool, and then now evolves to this AAD Connect, what we call that. So you can synchronize all your on-premises attributes users to the cloud. So this part is very essential. Actually, it's the first thing you do before you do anything. Right? You have to have your identity there first. So that synchronize it. And for this, you have to decide what identity solution you want to take place. We're going to talk about it in the later stage. And also reduce costs and enhance your security with self-service capabilities. You can delegate the important tasks such as resetting password and creation and manage of groups or users to some of your employees and provide a self-service application access like password management through verification steps, which reduce the help desk, like uh, the call you get every now and then from your managers, like I need to reset my password, right? I've been a part-time IT for several months before in Hong Kong, and I literally got calls like 3 a.m. in the morning from the managers. I literally remember, and I was on a business trip to Sweden once, and I still got a call somewhere, and I still have my jet lag. And at first, it's my manager, but I didn't care, so I pick up. I like the guy said, "Can you reset my password?" I said, "Okay, who the hell are you?" So I didn't realize it's my manager. But yeah, so with that, you reduce a lot of the task to ITs and help desks, like the SSPR, right? And now I'm going to talk about the differences between your Azure Active Directory and your on-premises directory. The ADDS, the on-premise, we call that ADDS, right? The server we installed is the traditional deployment of your Windows Server-based AD on a physical or virtual machine, virtual server. So through ADDS, it is a commonly considered to be a primarily a directory service. It is only one component of the Windows Active Directory suite of technologies, which also includes the like the ADCS certification service and the lightweight directory service and the federation service and what else? I think yeah, AD red management service, right? So AD RMS. So although you can deploy and manage ADDS in Azure virtual machines, it's recommended that you use Azure AD instead, unless you are targeting IaaS workloads that depend on the ADDS especially. So my labs, I think you guys saw that before, right? With my labs at the glimpse. So not this account. I didn't open that, but you saw me have a bunch of virtual machines there deployed. So I have domain control and everything else. So I was having my local directory in Azure. So, but that's my for me to demonstration and lab purpose. For the actual production environment, please don't not use that. All right. So Azure AD has many similarities to ADDS. There are also many differences. So it's important to realize that using the Azure AD is different from deploying the Active Directory domain controller on your virtual machines, right? So it's totally different. First is the Azure AD is primarily an identity solution. Your on-prem, it's just a schema. And the Azure AD is designed for HTTP and HTTPS communications. And you can query using the REST API over HTTP and HTTPS instead of using the LDAP. And yeah, so using the HTTP and HTTPS protocol, such as SAML, WS Federation, and OpenID, such as an OAuth for authorization, instead of Kerberos. Kerberos was were used for in on-premises, right? Basically, you have a line of sight of the domain controller, right? So essentially, the Azure AD is a managed service. You only manage the users, groups, and policies. So deploying the ADDS with virtual machines using Azure means that you are managing the deployment, configuration, of virtual machines, patching, and other backend tasks yourself. Right. So before we go to this licensing, which is quite annoying for me, let's just go here, right? So you can just type in Azure AD Active Directory. Actually, let me just okay, it's here. Right, you can go to here. So my demo license is actually I have a E5, so you have a E3, so this is going to be a little different than yours. So we go to the common one, right? So we do not go over everything here, like one by one. So the one we're to care about first is the users, right? You can find all your users here, and immediately you notice this is similar to your active users in Office 365 admin portal, but and there's something else you don't know. So for example, here, like I see this as a guest, it's invited user. Immediately tell me the SOA source of authority. It's invited user. This means it's not accept the invitation yet because it's a dummy account I made up. Of course, no one would accept that. And you can scroll down. I think I don't remember. So this is all my internal user. I have a couple invited users as well. Gee, I don't know. I have so many here. So I don't have. So once he or she dummy account anyway invite accept, it will be a Microsoft account. So it will display here, right? And you can invite, you can create new users, or you can create guest users from here, right? You can just click guest user. You can invite guest users from here. So it will be the same as your users. They share something externally, or in Teams they get a guest user, right? It will be the same experience. You will add a user in here, right? And of course, you can delete users and doing the password reset from here as well. Right. Okay, so let me close this. And we go to groups. Right. So here we'll list all your groups here. So I have their group logo as well. So you have distribution. You have the Office defined groups, which is listed as Office. And I don't have anything from on-premises, I'm afraid. And you also have a dynamic group as well. So you cannot create a dynamic group in the admin portal from here, right? You cannot do that. There's no way, but you can create from here, right? So you can create new groups, and you can choose its security or Office 365. So you can say there's not this dynamic, right? It doesn't matter. So if you choose Office security group, you can see the membership type is dynamic user or dynamic device, right? You can choose dynamic user, and you can choose the condition, like how it will become not how it become dynamic, but like this is the features that when the user match those properties, it will add into this group, right? So this is one of the convenient way to assign license actually, or manage really some of the security stuff you're familiar with on premises. But for online, I found out personally for assigning license is much convenient, especially if you're a really large organization. You have licensing requirement for different, right? Maybe this 100 user need E3, that 10,000 it needs E5, or they need some different like power, that one need Power BI Pro, etc., right? So you can do this dynamic group to assign this to users fairly easily, right? So there's not really much to show here, right? For users and the groups, it's similar to what you have on premises, but essentially, just keep in mind this is the identity solution, right? It's not a schema you have, it's an identity solution you have, right? Okay. So we'll not go over the others, and something you might pay attention is to I think for production is I think it's where the branding. There's a uh, company branding and oh yeah, company branding. So you can have your sign logo being made different, right? Have one console here. You saw me logging in, but you can have your company logo somewhere else. And your custom domains, so this will be the domains listed here. So their status is verified, available. This one's a default, you guys know. And whether they're federated or primary, it will be displayed here as well. So for production, you probably have more than one domain. So let me just show you my domain here. So you can see here, right? I have 4 domains here, right? But discard that this one have 3. So you can have something like this, and probably one will be federated, right? And another thing you're probably gonna look at is the Azure AD Connect, right? So this one I have no federation. Let me check if that one has federation. So go to my ADDC. So no, I don't have anything as well. But yeah, it will be displayed as here. So uh, once you configure any of this, it will display here. It says enabled for like PDA or anything else. The one way you can manage to verify that something's working, right? And how many agents you have. Okay. And another things you might look at it's licensing. I think yeah, we don't go over licensing, right? It's boring. Or MFA, right? You can enable the MFA for your users. Of course, you can also enable in the Office 365 portal. Just choose MFA. You can bulk enable as well using a PowerShell to enable for all the users if you want, or selective users, right? So yeah, so let me close this. We go back to our PowerPoint and talk about the different editions you have for Azure Active Directory. So the one you have, I just show you, it's free, right? It's free. You have nothing. You have any Office 365 subscription, right? Extension Online Plan 1, Plan 2, or SharePoint Online Plan 1, or Power BI, anything, you will have an Active Directory, right? The free one. There are 4 editions in total, right? Free basic P1 and P2. P1 and P2 you have to pay for it, but you have more features. Actually, the slide's not the best way to show you, so I have this open. Actually, you can have more comparison, right? This is the pricing for this for this 4. Actually, neglect the 5th one, right? First 5 apps, which is look at the first 4. So you can have all the feature comparison in one table, right? You can see that the free one uh, end up here, right? The premium feature end up here, right? You have the basic supports, 10 per user, blah blah blah. But for P1, P2, you have the SSPR, self-service password reset, company branding, logon page, access panel customization, SLA, application proxy, which is the one we talk about. You can upload, you can upload your apps or just use the reverse proxy to sign in. And for password read back, right? A really nice feature. And what else? Cloud App Discovery. So for Cloud App Discovery, Cloud App Security. So this is pretty awesome and new. And the conditional access based on group locations. And SharePoint limited access. OneDrive limited access, identity protection, privilege identity management. So these are the awesome one you have. Yeah, so all those are the one you have for P1 and P2. So you can, of course, anytime you can subscribe for trial for 30 days. So if you feel like, okay, this is something our organization sorely need, you can just subscribe, right? Okay. So the Azure AD directories, right? The tenants, the the tenants. So that's what we said in Microsoft. Sometimes they say like how many tenants, but they always say like you have one customer, but this customer can have following, several tenants. So that's the idea. So one customer can essentially have multiple branches or subsidiaries or child companies, right? Each of them can be a tenant. So a tenant is a dedicated instance of an Azure AD directory, which is created whenever you sign up for a Microsoft Cloud service like Office 365 or Azure. So it is important to note a tenant is not the same as a subscription. A subscription is typically tied to a credit or card or a billing account. So where a tenant is the instance of Azure Active Directory. You can have multiple tenants in your organization, such as console1.com, console2.com. So each tenant or Azure AD instance is separate and distinct from the other Azure AD directories in your organization. So these different tenants could allow for different functions. Like an example, you could have a tenant for Office 365, another tenant for testing environment, and another tenant for Microsoft Intune, another tenant for some small less users, right? Their password, user profile data, permissions, and so on. So uh, basically, from a deployment perspective, I have encountered for large enterprise organization, they will have at least one test tenant, right, with 25 users or 100 users, right? So this is for their POC, right, their proof of concept before they deploy federation or before they doing the Teams upgrade that's now Microsoft is pushing, right? So for folks who listen to this video, you should know that Microsoft has announced that Skype for Business Online will be decommissioned on 2021 end of July, or yeah, end of July. And for Skype for Business on-premise servers will be EOS end of support on 2029, so 10 years from now. That's announce the end of Skype, right? And we embrace the change of teams, the new journey of teams. But yeah, this is some other news. And so yeah, they have one tenant for testing the POCs and another their production environment for their actual deployments. Right, this is a typical way of setup for their projects. And speaking of the subsidiaries and more different branches or child companies, so once in a while there will be merging, right? They will move one of the customer to the customer, my customer. They will merge one tenant to another. So that come with the process of tenant migration. So this is not part of the exam or anything, but you can look that word up in Google, just search tenant migration, right? So I do have several customers. Actually, one of the largest one I have, it's in Korea. Actually, they're merging all of their subsidiaries or their tenants into one. So we're currently on the phase of migration before they have a long discussion of the tenant name because all the subsidiary want part of the names in the in the joint name, but it's impossible, right? They have hundreds of subsidiaries and child companies. It's impossible to have everything there. So just so you know, if you have this in your production environment, just look up for tenant migration. Right, so let's conclude our lesson one. So let's go to lesson two for Azure Active Directory Connect. So we're gonna discussing the what is Azure AD Connect, authentication options, PHS, PTA, federation, password readback, and Connect House. Right. I think this is the easy topic here actually. If you've done anything or you are a user admin that's already been doing this moving to the cloud, you have, I believe you already went through all the articles here about each of these features. But if you're new, I'm sure this is quite interesting for you to learn. Right. So let me close this. My bad. The Azure AD Connect, right? So the Azure AD Connect can integrate your on-premises directories with the Azure Active Directory. So this allows you to provide a common identity for users for certified Azure SaaS apps, which integrating Azure AD. So let me actually show you. I think my other tenants actually have this, hopefully in users. You can see it's synchronized. Yeah, Windows Server AD, right? This is the one that's synchronized. Of course, in Office 365 portal, they will display as the what do you call it? The synced user, right? Sync with on-premises uh, directory, something like that. Uh, Actually, I think the new portal doesn't show that, or I need to sync status, right? Okay, yeah. Okay, this doesn't have a word now for the new portal preview, so it's I think that means the cloud user. This means I synchronized from yeah Active Directory, but here it will display as Windows Server AD, right? That's that. Okay, so we go to the authentication option. right? So for the identity solution, so not authentication, right? Identity solution wise, we have the cloud, we have the synced, we have in synced, we have all those it mentioned, and we have the federation, federated, right? We have several. And this is talk about the authentication option. So remember, when a user sign in, right, there's actually two parts: authorization and authentication and authorization, right? The first part is authenticate. You are who you say you are. And the second part is authorization. So after you sign, we decide what permissions you have. So you have permission to maybe the global admin, the officer admin apps, or you have the permission on what SharePoint sites, or etc., right? So that's the authorization part. So authentication wise, we have the PHS, password hash synchronization, pass-through authentication. This one is new. I think Microsoft announced it's the end of 2017, right? End of 2017. It will be it's a preview, and earlier 2018 gone GA, and customers started using this. So why Microsoft deploy this PDA? So because they have several competitors like Okta, right? So the PDA you can treat as the easy deployment ADFS. So it doesn't require you to it doesn't put the user's password to the cloud, right? It doesn't synchronize the hash. It's still breakable in a way, so it remains password on premises. Also, the compliance over some industries. But before PDA, right? If any company want to do that, you remain the password on premises. They have to use the ADFS, which is it's a headache to set up because in production environment, uh, especially your enterprise, large enterprise organization, you have to have more than one server, right? You have to do at least two servers for ADFS, right? For redundancy or load balancing purpose, you have to two ADFS, and you will have hopefully a hardware load balancing machine. And yeah, so those already are additional physical stuff, physical servers you have in your server room to manage. And for a really large enterprise organization, right, more than 10,000 users, they have several sites, they have several ADFS deployments. So if you're using this new, right, they don't have ADFS before for other federation purpose. They are new to Office 365. They just set it up and they want to deploy this as their identity solution. They will be at least months of testing. I have seen 2 to 3 months of testing to deploy this. So it's a huge headache. It's a delay on the project timeline. That's why Microsoft come up with the PDA, right? It's authenticate the user, but remain the password on-prem. It can set up in half an hour. If for a small organization, I think half an hour is still too soon. Maybe 1 or 2 hours, at least half a day, right? Maximum half a day for if you are 500 users. Half a day is enough for you to set it up. For larger one, it probably takes a week and to set it up, and another week to test, right? Do the user acceptance test to verify it's working. So it's reduce a huge cost on this. So, but the corporation still goes for ADFS. So if they already have, or you already have ADFS on your environment, then yeah, maybe ADFS is easier for you to do because you already have it in one place. You don't want to waste that money, so you can deploy the federation service, and user can have the single sign-on experience as well. So yeah, in a way, that's the three identity solution we have. But actually, for the latest Azure AD Connect, if you download and you saw that one, you saw there's also the support for pin federate, but that's not support, not in our exam scope. So if you saw that option in the exam, you just ignore that, right? It's not in the exam scope. I can assure you it's not. It will be the wrong answer. So I'm 99.9% sure, right? So this brings our flow, the decision flow for decide your authentication method. So let's get started. So first question, do you want Azure AD to handle your signing completely in the cloud? So if no, do you want to integrate with an existing federation provider? If no, do you have a sign requirement not natively supported by Azure AD? No. Do you want to have disaster recovery or leak credential report? No. So pass through authentication plus seamless single sign-on. So the PDI you can configure for seamless single sign-on as well. So you have the single sign-on experience. But that step for a seamless single sign-on requires another 30 minutes to set it up. So yeah, so this will be the decision flow chart you can have. So I'll pause for this for another 5 seconds. You can take a snapshot or yeah, uh, whatever. Okay, let's go to the password hash synchronization. So the PHS. So what this does is it synchronizes the hash, right? The hash of the password to the cloud. It's not the actual password, it's the hash of the password. So it's using the SHA-256, 256. It's nearly unbreakable. So how it does is, wait, it's I forgot if it's using SHA-256. I think its certificate is using that. Whether sorry, my bad. I'm not quite sure now if hash synchronizing is using that to encryption. But anyhow, so the way for the hash to sync is, let's give an example, right? For example, your password, let's say it's AZ-103 certification. Let's say it's 88 Azure-103, right? This is your original password, right? So the hash of that could be something like this, right? I'm just making some stuff up, right? It could be something like this, right? Just random typing. So if you change your password, let's say I don't want AZ, right? I want maybe MS, right? So does it only, so it doesn't change like what you think, okay, we'll only change this part, for example, just the new hash will be not something you think like this, and that part remains the same, right? It won't be something like that. This is wrong, right? This is completely wrong, right? This is wrong. The correct one is it will change the whole thing completely, right? It will be something new again, like unrecognizable. It will be something like this. So you don't have to worry, okay, change one of the characters, so only 4 or 5 character here will be changed. It's not like that. It will change the whole thing completely. Right? It's very secure. Right? So that's basically the hash synchronization. So user will use the same password that they do in on-prem and in cloud. But yeah, so this brings an option like you can have different password in cloud, but it's for user experience wise, it's really bad. I never see or never saw any of my customer using this option. So you have two separate password on-prem and on cloud, in cloud, right? That's I don't think that works, right? And PTA, right? So what is PTA? So it's an alternative solution to password hash sync. So and provide the same benefit of cloud authentication to the organization. The PTA allows user to sign into both on-prem and cloud same password accounts. So when users sign into Azure AD, the PDA validate the user's password against their on-premise Active Directory. Right. So this actually brings a whole lot new, a lot of benefits because you can leverage using Azure AD features like MFA and self-service password reset, while the ADFS cannot. Right. So that's how it works. Actually, the PDA how it works is pulling the request, like whether there's a user signing is ready or not. It's pulling the request and authenticate against on-premise AD. But it's not like the federation, right, where you have a token, right? So the federation is a collection of domains, right? You can just not have one because we saw earlier in the UI, you can see there's you can have more than one, right? And it's a collection of domains that have established a trust with Office Define with Azure AD. My bad, not Office Define, Azure AD. So the level of trust may vary, but typically includes authentication and almost always include authorization. So a typical federation might include a number of organizations that have established trust for shared access to a set of resources. So you can federate your on-premise environment with Azure AD and use the federation for authentication and authorization. This signing method ensures that all user authentication occurs on premises. So it's meet your compliance policies, right? So the method allows administrators to implement more rigorous levels of access control. And for if you are not familiar how the not Azure, the federation works, so just imagine that the example I always give to my other students, the Chinese students I have in here and when I teach. So imagine that when you go abroad, right? Like if you come to China from US, so when you come here, you will need a passport, right? So the bureau or the uh, the custom and the aircrafts, not the aircraft, the airlines, right? So if you go there and you're carrying your library card, it doesn't work. Or you carry your citizen card, citizen ID card, it doesn't work, right? The custom doesn't recognize that. It recognize your passport. So it's a password in a way. It's carry the token, right? The Visa is a token. It's stamp on. So it's, for example, I when I go to the US, I need to get the stamp from the US Embassy, right? A visa, a stamp saying, okay, now, so with that token, I can can enter your border safely, right? So, because the customer recognize that one, right? The customer itself is not, I don't know how really the bureaus, the different administration works, but I would assume they're not a part of the same people, right? The one who issued me the visa is not the one who, in the custom border who checks me, right? But they recognize the same thing, the token, right? After the token, I can access the resource in the US, like the native original McDonald's cheeseburgers, right? Okay, that's basically how it works. But if I carry my Chinese citizen card, it doesn't work. It can authorize me anywhere in China, but it doesn't give me access to the other resource, which is the federation that in a way you can choose you can think the US as a federation for me, a federated China is a federated for the US, so I needed a token to access the US, right? And password readback, right? So what is the password readback? You can see the option here when you're deploying the Azure AD. Actually, you can click on any of the question marks to get a detailed description on what is that. So having a cloud-based password reset utility or function is great, but most companies want to have the on-premises directory where the user exists. So how does Microsoft support, keeping traditional on-premises Active Directory in sync with password changing in the cloud? So password readback is the feature enables with the Azure AD Connect that allows password change in the cloud to be written back to an existing on-premises directory in real time. So remember, it's in real time, right? So it removes the need again for SSPR solution, on-premises SSPR solution. So actually, this feature is great. So I often have customers they ask before deployments. They have, we will deploy the Ready Connect, but what if user changes the password, right? So you can have the password readback feature enabled. But if you remember correctly, this feature doesn't work for the free one, right? If I'm not mistaken. So let's see. Readback, yeah, right. So this one only available for P1 and P2. So don't be tricked by this. Like you can tick that if you don't have the license, it doesn't work, right? If you don't have the license, it doesn't work, right? Just remember this. Okay. You may ask why this is grayed out. Why, right? This is grayed out. When this is not part of the certification exam at this moment, but you have to check them if you go for extension hybrid deployment. Just remember, if you do not check this, when you're doing the mailbox migration, you won't see your on-premises mailbox in the cloud, right? You cannot see them. So just you have to check them for hybrid deployments, right? And last one, so the Azure AD Connect House. So this is more like a alert telling you what's been happening for your synchronization. So especially when you're integrating your on-premises directly with Azure AD, you're doing the synchronization. Users are uh, more productive because there's a common identity to access both cloud and on-premise solution. However, this integration creates the challenge for ensuring that the environment is healthy so that a user can, can access resources both places. So the Connect House, already Connect House, provides robust monitoring for your on-premise identity infrastructure. It doesn't matter the cloud ones, right? It monitors the on-premises. It enables you to maintain a reliable connection to Office 365, and this reliability is achieved by providing monitoring capabilities for your key identity components. Also, to make like the key data points about these components easily accessible. So let me actually show you one of the emails I've been keep getting when there's something goes wrong. So the default synchronization schedule for the Azure AD is 30 minutes. It cannot be lower than that, but you can manually trigger any of the uh, synchronization using PowerShell. So let me see. I should have, yes, I have one here. Right. Yeah, I can see here. So your identity synchronization from on-premise is unhealthy, right? So on the yesterday, blah, 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 I did not register synchronization attempt from the identity synchronization 2 in the last 24 hours. So this probably is, not probably, it's an unhealthy, right? So it doesn't, it's nothing wrong. My user can still access Office 365, but if a user somehow on premises, because the source of authority is still on-prem, right? Their password is synchronized. If he or she changes his password on premises and that is not synchronized, and he tried to log into Office 365, it doesn't work, right? He can log in with the old password, so he has to access, but the new password is not synchronized. So that's one of the issue you have to be pay attention to. And another place you can see that is from the portal. Let's sign again. The admin, there is a connect service house, right? Not really connect house, it's a service house. It also tells you about the synchronization issue, status. Let's wait to load. Right, so you may not see it here. So if you do not see it, just click add. We adding the service house. You can add everything if you want, domains, support, usage, Windows 10. You can add everything, right? So and just save, right? It's like the SharePoint site we can publish. So what is that service? Oh, it's loading. So probably takes a few minutes. Let's see if it's loaded. Okay, let me just browsing to my other tenants. I think it's this one has it. Okay, yeah. So here you have it. It's a preview portal, right? Azure AD Connect House. Directory sync last 26 hours ago, 62 hours ago. Password sync, no recent synchronization, right? So there we go. The one for health. So we can click into that actually to see the detail, right? Domain verified, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. So this is a service account. Actually, each time you set up the synchronization, right, it will create a service account, and this service account will be synced to your cloud as well. So that's the one they have. Yeah. So actually sync multiple times. I installed multiple times, so that's will be the one you have, right? For my domain controller, the same one on different machines you can have. Okay. So thanks for watching this, and we'll continue the Azure AD join in the next lesson.